Welcome to the Human Conversation podcast with Jules White, the real dragon slayer, author and entrepreneur's sales coach. Tune in weekly for human conversation about business and sales. Enjoy business expert interviews, educational episodes, and virtual cuppers with entrepreneur business owners. So grab yourself a cuppa and enjoy. Here is your host, Jules White.
So welcome to the Human Conversation, and today's episode is a solo episode with just me, Jules White. I want to put a bit of perspective into this really, because if you're listening to this in a year or even 2 years' time, you'll probably need to know where we're at today. And today this is the pandemic. This is the pandemic that we're in. And we're still in isolation to a big degree, albeit that this is starting to be relaxed. And I wanted to just talk about something that we've had going on in the UK. So again, international listeners, you might be quite interested in what we've been doing every week in the UK. And I think some of the other countries have been doing something similar. But basically, we have been clapping for our carers. But I want to just tell you more about that. This is a blog I've written, so I kind of thought it would be really good to get it into a podcast episode. So this episode is called When We All Stop Clapping, because this has been something that I've been thinking about. So the campaign Clap for Our Carers, it first started in the UK on Thursday the 26th of March. Hundreds of thousands of Brits have stood together, metaphorically speaking, of course, and have clapped in support of the NHS. And then, of course, that has developed into a weekly event whereby people show their support for key workers across the board in this pandemic. It's a heartwarming and connecting experience. And just so you know, right now it's still going on. It's wonderful to stand on my doorstep and clap together with my neighbours. And when I listen intently, I can hear the echo of the claps coming from even more streets beyond my own. Over the weeks, we have heard fireworks and pans banging and horns being sounded and even cheering. There is something really special in the feeling of people coming together, connecting, and showing their honest appreciation for the key workers who are keeping this country going, quite literally. The connection with the community. Well, I can honestly say, I have spoken more to my neighbours across the drive on a Thursday evening than I have in over 3 years. I now know their names, their children's names, and we have connected on Facebook of all places. Out of a really scary and terribly sad times have come great joy and togetherness. Within this time, I have become a non-executive director for a company called Ellis Mental Health Support. And this came about really from a conversation with their CEO, Jon Manning. You must follow him on LinkedIn just to see all of the amazing work that this company are doing. He's a very clever and inspiring guy, and we had a conversation whereby he just said, Jules, why don't we have a conversation about you coming along and being a non-exec director, sitting on the board? I know that you can bring us great value. So I have been working with Jon for the last 4 weeks, and it has been really wonderful to be part of that team on the board. And he'd been chatting to me for a few weeks before the pandemic. And in this role, I have found such a real purpose in how I can then support the mental health side of life. Because it's so important, more important than ever with everything that we're going through right now. So Ellis works in many areas of support for mental health, as well as running a social enterprise where the money made from corporate work is reinvested back in to helping support for children. So mental health support for children. In a meeting a couple of weeks ago, Jon and I were talking about how isolation may evolve and what role Arthur Ellis continues to take for the people that they serve when we start to come out of lockdown, whenever that might be. And Jon suggested something that really resonated for me. He said this one thing: we need to think about what happens when the clapping stops. I felt something right in my core when he said it, because the impact that it will have will be quite something. A habit takes 28 days to create, or thereabouts. And we've created a habit of gratitude and community spirit every week. And this is set to continue for some time yet. But when that clapping does stop, there will be no doubt mixed emotions. It will signify real change, and that change is very likely to be a new way of living for who knows how long. What we also have to be really aware of is that those habits that have kept us together and have given us a sense of support and togetherness will change. We may forget to check up on each other as often, and we may become more independent from each other again. And most important, we will have time to reflect, and this can have adverse effects of anxiety and stress, and maybe worse consequences if we don't continue to stay together and travel the next stage of our longer journey united. On a positive note, we will know that we have come out of the other side of this difficult situation, and whilst it has been harrowing for many, there will also be a sense of relief and deep pride of how we came together as humans. There have been and still are beautiful and wonderful moments of empathy and understanding going on all around us. So what's really important? Well, there are many complexities when it comes to us humans, and this blog was inspired by Jon and that moment when he said that sentence to me, and the wonderful work that Arthur Ellis is doing. I felt I had to write about how awareness is something that we have to ensure continues. I hope very much that we come out of this as changed people, but it's not something to take for granted. We can easily fall back into old habits, and some very likely will. I do believe with really focused awareness that we can make sure we keep some of our new and really valuable habits that we have formed. I know that we won't clap every week forever, but there are some things we really can continue to do. And my hope is that we carry on talking to our neighbours, checking in on the older members of the community. I hope we remain kind to each other, appreciating our key workers and how important they are. I hope we forgive quicker, and I really hope we work smarter, because I think we have proved in this last few weeks that we can. Arthur Ellis are here for us to care for our mental health and help people to become independent from illness. Their support will continue with corporate programs and well-being webinars, online training, assessments, support guides, and obviously their social enterprise to support children. It's important that we talk about what we can all do together to continue that gratitude and the support and the hope, because one thing is for sure, at some point the clapping will stop. I hope that has given you some food for thought. I felt really compelled to write this blog, especially, as I say, after what Jon said to me, because it really got me thinking, what does happen when the clapping stops? But I'm really sure from what I see around me that many people will continue to connect in this beautiful way and support each other. And I truly hope that this new norm is going to be an even better norm than we had before. Only today I was on a round table forum online, and the question came up, what is the new norm going to look like? What is it? How is it going to be? And I think the thing for me is, I think we need to truly realise what we've actually learnt in these last few weeks. We need to understand the different ways that we've been working and how much better they have been. And we also need to recognise the things that we've actually missed dreadfully. That will have to be part of our life at some point in the future again. We're certainly hopeful that we'll be able to meet face to face again. And I'm massively hopeful that we can hug again. And I think in time we will be able to do that. But for now, I think we should all be living in the now. I think we should all be thinking about what we can still do in this situation that we are in. And there is plenty that we still can do. One of the most important things is that we just maintain that human connection, which is really what everything I say is about, whether it's sales, whether it's my podcast, or whether it's just life. We need each other and we need to connect. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I hope you will tune in to my next episode of The Human Conversation, where I will have a guest with me. But for now, thanks for listening, and please, whatever platform you listened to The Human Conversation on, give it a like, please give it a follow or a subscribe, and tell everyone you know about my brilliant podcast. I will see you next time. Have an amazing week. Ta-ta for now.
You've just been listening to the Human Conversation podcast with Jules White. To find out more about the other work that Jules does, please visit her website, www.liveitloveitsellit.co.uk. And if you enjoyed the podcast, then please do leave a rating and review on the platform you use to enjoy her show. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.